this message. I was told to deliver this message.
Assalamu alaikum family, it's your brother Landon X, Nation Town TV. Just following up, in the Nation of Islam we say word is bond, bond is life, and I give my life before my word shall fail. And last Friday I promised that I would come back with the continuation of the topic that we had Friday night, particularly the part that dealt with colorism and self-hate in 2019. I was gonna wait until this coming Friday to continue on this, but for one, I already had it in my heart to, do the continuation today. But of course, we had something that took place today that I also want to touch on, and it kind of motivated me to just go ahead and do it because of an actual person that passed away that's near and dear to the heart of the believers here in the Nation of Islam, and it just inspired me, to do, what I already had on my heart to do. But let me first start off in the proper fashion. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is indeed no God but Allah, who appeared to us in the person of Master W. Fard Muhammad, to whom praises are due forever. And I further bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, to be right and exact and down to the modern times. And I would not know anything about those two great men if it wasn't for all of the men and women who survived the fall of the nation in 1975, who dusted themselves off, picked themselves back up, and continue to push the name and the legacy of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, who is still very much alive and in power, but he's no longer in our midst. And the man at the head of that pack, and who has been pushing that name and that spirit and that legacy on more so than anyone, was the man that was set in the most honorable Elijah Muhammad's seat, none other than the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And in those three great names, I greet you in the words of peace. We say it in the Arabic language, Assalamu alaikum. And family, as we mentioned last Friday, we had a subtopic of sorts that was inspired by something that that our brother right there said, Chris Brown. He basically had a lyric in a song that was considered to be disrespectful and incendiary toward our sisters, and I 100% agree. And basically what was said was, and the lyrics go as such: put it right there, only want to F with the black BITCHs with nice hair. With nice hair. So on Twitter, as well as other parts of social media, black women, they went off in a way that only our sisters can, and I'm really not mad at them, and I really don't blame them, because it on one hand it opened old wounds that's been around for a long time, and as I said last Friday, it's really unfortunate that in 2019, especially as woke as we all pretend to be, especially those of us that are younger, as woke and as psychologically advanced as we think we are, we still wrangle over something as silly as the grade of hair. So Friday I went into some science behind it, because in the Nation of Islam, as well as here on Nation Town TV, we don't just go with just opinion. We go with actual facts and science to back up not only what we're taught in the Nation of Islam, which is not just good for Muslims, it's good for all Muslims, the 17 million or more, you know. And so we went a little bit into the science, and I wanted to get the opportunity to go a little bit deeper in it. But before we do that, dear brothers and sisters, I do want to give my deepest and most humble and most sincere condolences to the friends and family of our dear brother Munir Muhammad. He is one of the co-founders of the Coalition for the Remembrance of Elijah, better known as CROW. And this brother is what we call a prior to 75 believer who, you know, came to the mosque in 1972, and he heard the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad live and in person for the first time. He stood up that first time. He didn't need to come back a second or third time, and he absolutely fell in love with this lifestyle, with this teaching. And like so many other believers, in 1975, when the Nation of Islam ceased to exist, when it failed, when the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad departed, that sent a lot of believers in the tailspin. And one of the things that our brother Munir Muhammad struggled with was the fact that he knew that the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad was so right and exact and so true and so good for our people. So it really made that struggle difficult for him. But in the mid-1980s, particularly 1987, him and a couple of other brothers, former prior to 75 members of the Nation of Islam, they formed CROE, C-R-O-E, Coalition for the Remembrance of Elijah. And they basically put what I would call, they laid the groundwork for what you see on social media today. Not just from members of the Nation of Islam like myself, not just like Nation Town, not just Brother Ben, not just Brother Reza, but also you see a lot of propagation from a lot of different faiths and ideologies on social media. And really, this brother that you see in this image to my right is one of the first to do that. Very few have ever done you know, what we're doing now before him. You know, he started CROE TV. Many of you may have seen Muhammad and Friends, where he has interviewed everyone from politicians and dignitaries to scientists to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan on many occasions. And he's a staple not only in the Nation of Islam and our teaching, but just in black consciousness. And I'm trying to speak of him in the present tense, because as it says in the Holy Quran, speak not of those slain in the way of Allah as dead. Nay, they are alive, but we perceive not. And I think it's especially, that ayat especially pertains to our brother Munir, because he is a brother who was not afraid. And I want you to follow me on this. He was not afraid of being right down to the modern times. Even though he was a prior to 75 believer, even though you know, he came from an era where it was almost unthinkable for a brother to just pop up and have his own TV station, his own outlet, because you got to understand it was a lot more difficult in the mid-80s for a brother to propagate anything on television or in a way that's what you call visual media, because it wasn't as simple as just logging on to Facebook, hitting live like we do, and then bam, there you are talking to thousands, perhaps even millions of people. It didn't work like that at that time. He spent a lot of money and a lot of time, took a lot of flack, fought a lot of battles, some we know of, some we may not. There was even a time where there was a little bit of misinformation out there between himself and the Nation of Islam and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. But like real brothers and like real students of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, they squashed that, and they were the best of friends up until his untimely, well, I won't say untimely, but up until you know, his passing today. And And any of us who have ever, especially Aboriginal people, and particularly in the Nation of Islam, who have ever logged on to any type of podcast, webcast, YouTube, Facebook, and in any way propagated the faith of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, particularly using modern technology, we have to give an original salute to that brother, because he laid that groundwork. And he was never afraid to deal with something that he didn't see a lot of other people doing. He wasn't afraid to make sacrifices. He wasn't afraid of technology. You know, he took that Iblis mindset from the Holy Quran and flipped it. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has famously said that he is Yaqub in reverse, meaning that he seeks to reverse the damage done by Yaqub's children in the last 6,000 years. And many of us can follow that trend and also be like an Iblis in reverse. And what I mean by that is, Iblis promised to God in the Holy Quran that he would come at us from every direction, from before us and behind us, from the left and from the right. And when we're propagating something that's righteous or something that we believe in, we got to do the same thing. We can't get comfortable with doing something one way when you know your enemy is coming from every way possible. So our brother Munir, even though he was prior to 75, I'm sure he pushed that Muhammad Speaks on the block. He understood the value of using every bit of technology possible, every avenue possible to get to our people, to let them know the regal history and the regal teaching of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I thank him for that. And, you know, again, my condolences to his family. Not condolences to him, because he's all right. He's good. Like I said, per the Holy Quran, he's still with us. And really, whenever any of our loved ones pass on and they transition, it's really up to us. If they die, it's really our fault. And I'm not going to go too deep into that, but I feel like, you know, it's not really our flesh that, you know, it's not our family members' flesh that we cry about and that we mourn when they pass away. It's usually their attributes, the things they did, the things that we loved about them. That's what we miss, and that's what we cry and mourn about. But those things don't have to die with them. So that was one of the reasons why today I really didn't feel like going live. I was going to put this off to Friday. But I said, you know, what would Brother Munir do? If he has something on his heart to get out there, would he just put it off to the next episode, or would he go out there and put it down on Muhammad and friends? So, you know, I'm touching bases with the Nation Town family, not only to pay respects to our dear brother, but because I know that this is what he would want all of us to do who have been blessed with the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and propagated in any way, shape, or fashion. So I want to thank him and the Coalition for the Remembrance of Elijah Crow, the other co-founders. And I also encourage everyone watching this to go to croe.org. I believe they have a link on their page to donate. And just visit. If you're in the Chicago area, schedule a visit to their location. And I'm telling you, it's like a museum. It's a beautiful experience. And I pray that all those involved with Crow, and really in the Nation of Islam, if you call yourself a believer in the Nation of Islam, if you are an FOI, an MGT, or even if you're just a sympathizer, you know, we should all be honorary members of Crow, and we should do the work of Crow. Every time we push the final call, that's Crow. That makes you a part of the Coalition for the Remembrance of Elijah, because he's in every issue. You know, he's on page, every issue of the final call, he's on page 19. And then the last page. And his teachings are from page 1 to page 40. There's always 40 pages in the final call newspaper. So again, I want to give our condolences directly from Nation Town TV for our brother. That wouldn't be a Nation Town TV. It wouldn't have been a Brother Ben, wouldn't have been a Brother Reza, wouldn't have been Malcolm Flex, wouldn't have been any of that if it wasn't for that type of work that our brother Munir did.
I was told to deliver this message.
Assalamu alaikum, family. Back on. We just did our tribute to our brother Munir Muhammad. Now we back on, and we're gonna jump right into the subject, the continuation subject that we were doing, dealing with colorism and self-hate in 2019. Again, it's your brother Landon X, Nation Town TV. Let me start off in the proper fashion again. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who appeared in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom praises are due forever, plus 1,000 days. As far as I'm concerned, I further bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, to be right and exact. And I lastly bear witness that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is without question our divine leader, teacher, guide, and Messiah. And I miss if you just pick up a dictionary and look up what that word means. With that said, dear brothers, assalamu alaikum. I'm going to make it real quick. I don't have a lot of time, but I just wanted to get a quick continuation of the topic that we had Friday night, where we were dealing with Chris Brown versus black women and colorism and self-hate in 2019. It reared its ugly head again, and it's really unfortunate that we are still even talking about this kind of thing, especially in a time when we like to pose ourselves as being such a woke generation, such a thinking generation, so advanced. We think we're so much more advanced than a lot of our elders, you know, just because we got a smartphone or whatever the case may be. But we still having some of the same issues with self-hate, and it's prevalent in the celebrity world, R&B, hip-hop, you know. And basically what happened, for those not aware, Chris Brown had released a song, and one of the lyrics in the song said, and I quote, "Put it right there, I only want to F with black BITCHs with the nice hair." The nice hair is what he said, the nice hair, as opposed to the mean hair, I guess. I don't know. I don't, like the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, I don't see why we are so silly as to put human characteristics on something as basic as hair. But we're still in that mindset in 2019. A lot of sisters got upset, you know, they went at him on Twitter. But we'll see what his concert line looks like next time he does his show. We'll see what his albums do as far as numbers next time he drops an album, and we'll see really how mad the sisters are. But you know, they were upset, and I understand, because all of these hip-hop and R&B artists, they are all buoyed or set up on a foundation of support from our community. You know, male and female, black and brown, male and female. And eventually, once they sell a couple of albums, then Caucasian fans jump on the bandwagon and, you know, buy up all their concert tickets, and then, you know, buy their albums, and, you know, and then they kind of forget the foundation that they came from, not just with their career, but hell, from their mama black, you know, auntie black, sisters black. But they forget that real quick, I guess, because the money's so green that they forget about how black they are. But basically what it really, you know, sparked in my mind is a deeper discussion that needed to be had. Because it's not just about Chris Brown, because we would be foolish to think that Chris Brown is the only R&B singer with this mentality, that he's even the only young black man with this mentality. Let's keep it real. This ain't just something that a millionaire R&B star has in the back of his mind or in the front of his mind. You know, there's a brother somewhere working at Wendy's in the drive-thru, you know, who when he thinks, if you ask him what does an attractive woman look like, he's probably going to paint a picture for you that looks nothing like his own mother, that looks nothing like himself, that looks nothing like the women in his family. You know, might not even look like the woman who's his girlfriend at that particular time, or his wife at that particular time, because neither males, black men or women, but especially black men, are raised in this media environment. We're not brought up in an environment that tells us that anything that's considered black features or black beauty is actually attractive or desirable. You know, you look at these rap videos, these R&B videos, you see exactly what's put out there. And it's perpetuated even in a lot of these people's personal lives. And so it wasn't really surprising to me that he made these comments. But like I said, we're here to talk about the actual science. And we're going to use science and actual facts and the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the guidance of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to debunk and to destroy this silly mentality of self-hate and colorism here in 2019. But as I said, Chris Brown made these comments, and I first want to just point out a few things. First, I'm going to start with a little bit of the history that we're taught in the Nation of Islam. As I mentioned Friday, we're taught that 50,000 years ago, there was a scientist, a wise scientist by the name of Shabazz, who saw something on the horizon for the original people of this earth, the Aboriginal people of this earth, you know, which look like me. They look like Chris Brown. They look like, you know, every black person and Aboriginal, Native American, so-called Hispanic person you see. But he saw something on the horizon for us. And at that time, black people, whether they were as black as the middle of my tie, or if they were my complexion or whatever, they all had what we would call, in our ignorance, good hair, or what we would call straight hair. They all had it. I'm not just gonna leave it to conjecture. I'm actually give you a little bit of evidence. What you're looking at right here. This sister, as you can see, is in color. So this is not, it's an actual photo. It's not animated. It's a recent picture. This is an African sister. She's probably from the Tuareg tribe, perhaps Fulani tribe, but she's from I believe a Mid-East African tribe. And as you can see, look at her hair. She's actually the same, and it's not something that's just relegated to just Africa. I have a niece that has hair like that, you know. Same skin tone. I have a niece who's probably a little bit darker than her. Same hair to hair. So this is the kind of hair that all Aboriginal people had at one point. But it was not what you see on the tops of white people's head. That's a different kind of hair. And I'm going to get into that in a moment. I'm going to get into the science of that. But it was not the kinky or what we sometimes call nappy hair that I have, and I'm proud of, and some of y'all are not proud of, but it is a different grade of hair. And we're talking about the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that there was a time where all of us had a grade of hair on our head that was similar to or exactly the same as the hair that we have on our eyebrows. The hair that we have on our eyebrows. But one thing I wanted to break down was the actual science of human hair. Actual human hair. Because like I said, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us of Shabazz. He saw something on the horizon coming against the Aboriginal people of this earth. He saw a challenge that we were going to face, and he felt like we weren't strong enough. This wasn't about hair. He felt like that the Aboriginal people were not ready for what was coming down the pipe. So what he wanted to do, he wanted to make us tougher. And he wanted the Aboriginal people to go deep into the jungles like a training camp, like they do in military, basic training, go into the most difficult parts of the earth to get tougher. And we also believe in something called, and you'll find it as well in the scripture, both Bible and Quran. You'll see it called the Exalted Assembly. But we believe in 24 scientists, 12 major, 12 minor. And this is a round table, if you will, of the gods who wrote history 25,000 years in advance. And Brother Shabazz went to them to explain what he saw coming. He saw something, a hell of a challenge coming down the line, a beastly challenge, where we would find ourselves in a wilderness of sorts. He went to them and he basically presented his idea and what he saw coming. And they rejected him, and they said, oh man, we don't need that. We don't know what you're talking about. You on something else. So what he did is he took his own family, the Shabazz family, into the jungles of what we now call Africa, erroneously is actually Asia. But he took them into that wilderness, and after hundreds of years of being in that wilderness, the beautiful thing about Allah, as I mentioned in the last episode, is that he gives every living creature the ability to adapt to its surroundings. So what happened is, in the heat of that wilderness and in the terrain of that wilderness, we became a taller people, a stronger people, a more resilient people, mentally, physically, and it also reflected in our hair, because the sun beaming down in that part of the earth, you know, that straight hair, you know, was not sufficient in the heat of the Saharan desert, what we now know as the Saharan desert. That's why when you go to Africa to this day, many of the hottest parts of it is where you'll find those with the kinkiest hair. And so in that experience, we became a stronger people, we became a more resilient people, and that was reflected in our hair. So one of the biggest myths of what you would call kinky hair is that it's something wrong with our hair, with our so-called nappy hair. But in fact, it's that something is strong with our hair. And that's the interesting thing, and that shows how prevalent self-hate is amongst us even to this day. Because we never look at hair in the same way as we look at anything else. Because if you look at a Caucasian person's hair, it is weak. It's not good, it's not nice, it's weak. If the wind is blowing to the east, a Caucasian's hair is blowing to the east. If the wind is blowing to the west, a Caucasian's hair is blowing to the west. So whichever way the wind blows, their hair goes. Now, if you knew a person that was like that, a person who was spiritually like that, a person that was physically like that, a person that was mentally like that, if a person who believed anything anybody told him, if one person told him that the sky was green, he believed him. If another person told him that the sky was polka dot, he would jump over there and believe them. You would say that's a weak-minded person. If a person was physically weak, well, whichever way the wind blows, if somebody pushed them to the left, they just fell over to the left. If somebody pushed them to the right, they just fell over to the right. You would say that that's a physically weak person, wouldn't you? In fact, to our sisters who are mad at Chris Brown, I find it interesting because let's keep it 100% real, because I'm here to defend our sisters and I agree with them with what they said about Chris Brown. But let's keep it real. When a brother walk into the room with a little ponytail, a little wavy ponytail, he sit next to a sister, what's the first thing she say to him? Ooh, you got good hair. Come on now. Let's keep it all the way 100. She'll be the first one. It won't be another brother that's gonna walk up, hey dog, you got some good hair, homie. Nah, it's always a sister that walk up to him and say that. So it's in our sisters' minds as well. And as I mentioned last Friday, you know, our sisters, they really love us. They really go to bat for us. I'm talking about Aboriginal men. Our sisters love us. So whatever we put out there that we may be attracted to, they do their best to meet that standard. If men put it out there, if you turned on the videos, the music videos tomorrow, and all the women on those videos were bald-headed, they all look like those sisters on Black Panther. And then every video of every rapper, every R&B singer, the sisters were bald-headed. Every BET Awards, Beyonce cut off all her hair. You know, I guarantee you would go to the club in about 6 months and every sister in there would be looking like Michael Jordan. It's a fact. Not just because they're following trends, but because they want to be considered desirable. They want to be considered attractive, particularly by us. So they do what they can to do that. So unfortunately, a lot of sisters come into agreement with whatever silly standard of beauty that black men adopt that's usually put on us by society. But I want to break down, like I said, the actual science of hair. Because there's a reason why Caucasian hair blows with the wind. It's a reason why their hair is so brittle and so weak. I want to show y'all something real quick, if I may. What you see to my right is a diagram of the 3 most common layers. Pay attention to what I said. Most common layers of the human hair. Now, those are the actual layers right there. I want you to see that. What you're looking at is the cuticle, the cortex, and then what you see is what's called the medulla. And notice that the arrow for the medulla is pointing at that long stem that's going down the middle. And I'm going to explain, I touched on it a little bit Friday, but I'm going to explain what that medulla is. And this is why I said this is the most common diagram of what the human hair looks like. And I'm going to explain what I mean by that in a moment. But now I'm going to show you what all three of those layers actually mean. Let's start with that medulla. The medulla is the deepest layer of the hair shaft, and it's only seen, read it for yourself, it's only seen in large and thick hairs. I'm going to keep reading. The cortex, that's the middle layer of the hair shaft, which provides the strength, the color, and texture of hair fiber. And then the lastly is the cuticle. That's the outermost layer, the outer layer of the hair shaft. And it is colorless, and it serves as a protection for the cortex. Now, what holds up the cortex, which is the strength of the hair, is the medulla. But remember what it says. It says it only can be found in large and thick hairs. Contrary to popular belief, black people and aboriginal people of this earth are not minorities. We actually make up the majority. We're taught in our lessons as of the 1930s that there are 4,400,000,000 aboriginal people on this earth, and only 400 million of what you would call Caucasians. Most people on this earth have thick hair. Even if they have what would be considered straight, or even if you're silly enough to call it good hair, their hair is still thick and coarse. You just can't run any kind of comb through it. Even in our teachings of the eyebrow texture, where the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us that our hair was once all as straight as our eyebrows, if you take your finger and run it against the grain of your eyebrow, you'll notice that your hairs still stick up. They still are strong. They're still strong. If the wind blows, your eyebrow hair doesn't flip and flap in the wind, right? That's because it's still strong. One thing that you saw in the NBA and in popular culture about 5 years ago, there was a hairdo called the Frohawk. And that was inspired by the Native American hairdo called the Mohawk. And Native Americans were able to cut their hair and bald it out on both sides, and then have a line of hair at the top that stuck straight up like spikes. And that is because they are aboriginal people, and their hair, even though it's straight, it's strong, and strong enough to sit straight up on the top of their heads. You know, as long as they shaved it on both sides and combed it up that way, it could stand up straight like that. That was the Mohawk. And then our hair, of course, can do the same thing. Shout out to Mr. T. So, what you're talking about is aboriginal hair is always and has always been strong. It was that journey of the Shabazz tribe that made it kinky, made it curly, or what you might call nappy. But aboriginal hair has always been strong. And the medulla is not a coincidence that that name reminds you of the medulla oblongata. That's the stem of your brain that connects with your spine. Because I'm going to bring up this diagram again. The medulla, as you see, it's actually going right down the middle of the shaft, just like your spine goes right down the middle of your back. So the medulla is the spine. It's the spine of the hair. What would you call somebody that does not have a spine? What would you call somebody that you consider to be weak? You would call them spineless. You are a spineless coward. So when someone does not have a medulla in their hair, they essentially have spineless hair. There's only one type of person on the planet Earth that does not have medulla in their hair shafts. Want to take a quick guess who? That's right, the Caucasian. And those who have been deeply grafted by Caucasians. Let's face it, a lot of us, you know, you can look at me and tell I'm not 1,000% Mandingo. I am in my heart. You know, as you can see by the tie, I am in my mind and in my heart, but you can tell and look at my complexion that I'm not. But the beautiful thing about the Aboriginal people and about blackness in general is that black is not a color, it's the essence in which all color comes from. But medulla is the spine of the hair. It holds up the cortex. And when we perm our hair, when our sisters perm their hair or even color their hair, when they use that infamous hot comb. I grew up in a house full of women. I know about that hot comb. I didn't burn myself on that hot comb before reaching across the stove. And you know, my sister and my mama got that hot comb sitting up there heating up. But when they run that hot comb through your hair, you hear this. It sounds like somebody pouring some milk in the Rice Krispies. That snap, crackle, pop. That's your mama sitting up there telling your little sister or your big sister to be still. But that sizzling and crackling sound, that's the sound of the medulla being broken. You're basically breaking the back, snapping the back of your hair shaft to make it weak and to make it limp like Caucasian hair. So it's not that there's something wrong with your hair, black man, black woman. It's that something is strong with your hair. Somebody lied to you and told you to be ashamed of the grade of your hair. And somebody even lied to you even more and made you foolish enough to talk about hair as if it was a human being, as if it had a human characteristic. What is good hair? What makes hair good? What does it do to earn that title? If somebody's a good man, if I'm a good man, I have to earn that title. I gotta keep my wife happy. I gotta do great things. I gotta make her smile every day. I gotta say nice things to her. I gotta bring her stuff. I gotta buy her stuff. I gotta do a lot to be called a good man. I gotta do a lot to be called a good brother. I gotta do a lot to be called a good anything. To be good at my job, there's a lot of things I gotta do. What does hair gotta do to be good? I ain't never seen somebody's hair walk an old lady across the street. I ain't never seen somebody's hair save somebody from a burning house. I ain't never seen somebody's hair loan somebody, you know, a couple $1,000s to pay their rent. I ain't never seen hair do nothing good. And then again, I ain't never seen nobody's hair rob nobody. I ain't never seen nobody's hair kill nobody. I ain't never seen nobody's hair lie to nobody. I ain't never seen nobody's hair, you know, bust nobody in the mouth for no reason. So there's no such thing as bad hair. Who told you that? You know, like Malcolm said, who taught you to hate yourself? Who taught you to hate yourself? So I wanted to break down that science of the hair, you know, so it's not just about opinion and all of that kind of stuff. And once again, for those who may be just joining us, I want to show you that again. That's the breakdown of the 3 layers of Aboriginal hair. Now, every type of hair doesn't have that. That top one, medulla, you won't find that in Caucasian hair or Caucasian-like hair. But the majority of the people on this planet who have been here for trillions of years have all 3 of those layers. But one of the people on this earth only has 2. Remember, they called us 3/5 of a man in their own laws, in their own constitution. But according to this science, the Caucasian is 2/3 of a man. All praise is due to Allah. This is just science. I know some of y'all have Caucasian friends. Y'all gonna be mad at me. Y'all mad right now. That's all right. You can go ahead and click that red X or whatever at the top of your screen. You ain't gotta watch me. You can go watch, you know, Lil Nas X video or something. You can go do something else, but you ain't gotta watch me. But we also gonna hear from a sister on this topic, going back to the actual Chris Brown issue, because I do want to hear from a sister on Nation Town TV, and I want to hear from the sisters that are watching. I want to hear from you as to what you think about this actual topic when it comes to what we call colorism or even hairism and self-hate here in 2019. And I'm gonna have a sister come up and speak her mind on the topic in our last few minutes. I want to shout out all of our family, Nation Town TV family. Shout out wa alaikum salam to brother Brandon X. Shout out to Sister Rochelle Lindsay. She says peace and comfort to the Munir Muhammad family and friends. Absolutely. Shout out to brother Hamid Sharif, watching in Fort Washington, Maryland. Shout out to Maryland, the whole DMV area. Jaquez Hayes. Wa alaikum salam, soldier. Brother Leonard X. Assalamu alaikum. I see you, dear brother. Man, he watching from London, England, from across the pond. All praises due to Allah. Man, we worldwide with this Nation Town thing. All praises due to Allah. Shout out to Kay Kamo. Thank you for the lesson concerning the medulla. Thank you, family, for tuning in. And all praises due to Allah. But, you know, and I encourage everyone to really go into the root of everything. And that's what I love about the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teachings and the guidance of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. We're not comfortable with just branch knowledge. We go to the root of it, and we literally did that tonight and last Friday by going to the root of hair, going into the layers of hair. But in a moment, we're going to take a quick break, very quick, and we're going to have a sister come up and speak to us just to give, because I just want an actual Aboriginal woman to touch on that. But I want you all to remember that. Take a screenshot again of the images that I just showed you. This information right here, the medulla, and look it up. Don't just trust your brother. I know some of y'all don't even believe me as it is. You waiting on somebody that looks like this side of my hand to tell you everything I just told you, whether there's somebody that looks like this side of my hand. I get it. That's the way you've been tuned. That's the way you've been taught in the environment, whether you're in London, England, whether you're in Florida or California or Mexico. That's the way you've been taught to only believe scholarship that's coming from someone who looks like the inside, like the palm of my hand, and not the outside of my hand. But go ahead and check that out. But dear family, in a moment, we're going to have our dear sister come up here and give her take on it. If you have any questions, any comments, particularly from black women, about what Chris Brown said, or just personal experiences with colorism and self-hate in recent years, we want you to chime in. But at this time, we're going to have our sister come up and speak to us.
Assalamu alaikum.
I was told to deliver this message. I was told to deliver this message. I was told to deliver this message.
Assalamu alaikum, family. Thank you for bearing with us. Again, I'd like to bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who came in the person of Master Fadar Muhammad, to whom all praises are due forever. I further bear witness that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is his messenger and servant and deliverer of his people. I further bear witness as well that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is the Son of God and Jesus in our midst today. So it's in their holy and righteous names that I greet you in the greeting words of peace of Assalamu Alaikum. So I appreciate you all for having me. Thank you all, family who's joining us, and please bear with me. I'm always nervous when I get in front of God's people. It's just like to address the chosen people of God is just a little weight on my shoulders, so bear with me and my nervousness. But I want to start off before I jump right into the topic by just giving my condolences and my heartfelt sympathy and prayers to the family and the friends and the loved ones, the supporters of Crow and of our brother Munir Muhammad. I pray that he was well pleased with Allah and that Allah is well pleased with him at the time of his transition. So let's please, give our family, give his family your prayers and your support, and strengthen them with our prayers and our support. And let's keep his legacy alive. Keep his legacy alive. His work will live on forever as long as we carry that same spirit and that same effort that he put forth in pushing the program for our minister and Master Farad Muhammad and Elijah. So let's go ahead and jump back into this topic. I touched on it just a bit last week, but here in the Nation of Islam, we are taught root knowledge, okay? So let's try and get to the root of the thinking. Like, what would even make a black man say such a thing about the black woman, the mother of all civilization? Are you serious about life right now? So let's get down to the nitty-gritty of it. We're taught in the Nation of Islam that a nation can rise no higher than its woman. So where there's no decent women, there's no decent men. So the fact of the matter, sisters, is we are the ones who are birthing men into the world. We are rearing men in this world who hate, disrespect, and do not protect the black woman. That's what we're doing. We are the ones who are producing this type of man that you're seeing when you're looking at someone like Chris Brown making these statements, and it hurts, but that's the fact of the matter. Now you might say, how? Like, that's my fault? How am I doing this? Well, you know what? It starts in the womb. And us as women, we have a physical womb, but we also have a mental womb as well. We have two wombs. And when we are thinking, our thoughts are imprinted, they're written. We write our thoughts on the minds of our children as they're growing, as they're developing in the womb. So if black women, if you have the thoughts of self-hate, if you have a thought that when you look in the mirror and you hate your black skin, or you hate your broad nose, you hate what you see looking back at you, what God gave you, birth in the blackness of triple darkness of space, and he made you after his own image, and you look in the mirror and you hate that, that's what's being imprinted on the mind of the children that we're birthing into this world. Okay, so we're rearing self-hate into our children from the womb. If we are looking at other black women and we're hating on them, look at that hoe, look at that trick, she ain't nothing, she ain't shit. Excuse my language, but this is what's in the world right now. So this is what's being written on the minds of our children. And let's flip that coin. If we're looking on TV, watching movies, if we're looking through magazines and social media and we're seeing women other than self, white women, Asian women, whoever, women other than your beautiful self that God made you, and you're admiring them, you're glorifying these women, you're wanting what they have, ooh, I want to bleach my skin. You know, I want that light skin because that's what's in. Ooh, I'm perming my hair. You know what I'm saying? Because I want that straight silky. I want to just run my fingers through my hair. Or I'm putting $150 million weaves in my hair. You know, so this mind, you're sitting here glorifying something that looks completely opposite of you. This thinking is going into the mind of your children, and that's how we as women are producing men into this world that hate us and that disrespect us because they're getting what we're putting out through our mind. Our minds are so powerful. Okay, let's see. Trying to look and see. Hold on just a moment. We want to check and see if we have.
I got a question for you, dear sister.
Yes, sir.
How do you personally feel about a artist, an actual R&B or hip hop artist, whether it's Chris Brown or whoever, that would say something like that as a hip hop R&B fan, and not just speaking as a Muslim or as an MGT? Would that change your support for them personally? Would you stop listening to their music? Would it not affect you at all? What do you think is not what you think other people should do, but personally, what would be your reaction?
Oh, that's a great question. And personally, I think that, you know, we give these artists way too much energy, and we have too high expectations for these artists. Me, myself, I heard it and I was like, you know, sounds like something that a Chris Brown would say. I mean, I don't expect, you know, him to say something profound. You know, I you know, coming into the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we get the knowledge of, you know, where this industry, what this industry is doing, and the tools, excuse me, that they're using to portray their work. And he's being used as a tool and a slave to portray the works, the thoughts, the ideology of the satanic Jews that are the ones who are over him and orchestrating what he puts out, you know, and just making him rich. So of course he's going to put forth the same agenda as the one who's feeding him. You don't bite the hand that feeds you.
Now let's talk about growth a little bit. Not hair growth, but let's talk about growth. How did you feel about situations like this, colorism or hairism, and just self-hate from your perspective before you came into the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad? Did you fall victim to it? Were you very self-conscious of your own hair, other people's hair? Was it attractive to you if a brother had wavy hair or whatever? Tell us about how you looked at things before you came into the teaching.
You know, that's a good question as well. And you know, this topic actually it brought me back because, you know, as I was growing up, I mean, I guess, you know, people claim that I had good hair because my hair is curly, you know. And for me, when people would compliment me on my hair, I like just period, just compliments period. I don't know. I don't take that too well. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, I guess thanks, you know, but it's nothing. It wasn't really anything to me because I saw everyone else who looked at me, majority of girls who looked like me, especially growing up in the 80s, you know, we didn't have products like we have this natural hair sensation now, or movement now, where we have products where we can, you know, no matter what, you know, not grade, but no matter how your hair is, because we're black women, we come in different shades, we come in different complexions, different hair types. So no matter what type of hair you have, you know, we have natural products now that can address our hair so we can wear them natural. Back in the 80s, you know, I didn't like my hair. I'm like, dang, why isn't my hair just like everybody else's? And I got teased. My mama always had little spiral curls in my hair, and people call me Jerry Curl or whatnot. So, you know, it took me back because now, you know, there's this whole thing about good hair And what it kind of does for people with, who don't consider, good hair, but are trying to just wear, be natural and just be them, and they may have a different grade of hair, it puts you in a position where now I had to, you're not so much defending yourself, but why is there even what God blessed me with? Why is there should be no comparison? Because whatever God has given to me is what God gave to me, and whatever God gave to you, this is just what God has given all of us, and there's no good or no bad to it. That's just like how the white man came and said, you black, you red, you what? We didn't have any of that, so it makes me feel just that this is a whole nother tool that the white man is using to push to pit us against each other. Because like my husband touched on, the original man before Shabazz, we all had hair like our eyebrows. Now when Shabazz took his family deep into the jungle, we had thicker hair to fit the environment that we were in. And so when you see Africans, when you see black people here in America, and they have so-called good hair, that could come from several different things. That the Indians, the Native Americans, we were cohabitating with the blacks. We also know that the whites were raping us. So it's like you're putting women, and we don't even know our history, where this so-called good hair came from. What people claim to be good hair came from, where you're putting us against our sister, and it's for something, an attribute that may have come through rape, that may have come through the oppression and the slavery of your ancestors. So that was always the thought for me, and still more so now as I come into the knowledge. But if we want to go to some solutions, how do we, especially for the woman, I'm trying to strive to be accountable for ourselves and our role, because the male is our counterpart. Like I mentioned earlier, we are the mother of all civilization. We are the first teachers before our children come out into this world, when they're birthed in the womb. So to get to a solution as to, how we can stomp out this type of thinking, this type of mind in the male, sisters, it's gonna start with us. A nation can rise no higher than its woman. We have to first reform the thinking of the woman in order to reform the thinking of the man. How do we do that? It starts with the true knowledge of self given by God. Not the wicked, devilish knowledge that this world gives you of what a woman is, but the true knowledge of self, the true knowledge of God, and the true knowledge of the enemy of God, the devil himself. Because when we come into the true knowledge as women, is when we come into the true knowledge of ourselves, who we are, and we realize that we are the second self of God. We don't sell ourselves cheap. We're not going to reveal all of our adornments and the beauty that God has given us for specific reasons and purposes. We're not going to sell ourselves as simple toys and playthings and tools for pleasure of men and women, in this world. No, we know that we're the second self of God. Like, what? Second self of God? I'm right next to the man. So, and we know that we are co-creators of God. We're co-creators with God. So when we have that type of knowledge, of ourselves, and we come into the true knowledge of self, we have to also live up to it. It's one thing to know who you are, but it takes discipline, it takes sacrifice, it takes obedience to actually live up to that knowledge. But when we do, not only will the woman rise, but the man will rise as well. Try not to do what I did last week. So if anyone has any questions, we're going to take a look to see if there are any questions or comments before I turn the reins back on over to my husband. Let's see. Okay, so no questions or comments. But I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Again, I appreciate being able to come in front of God's chosen people. Our prayers is something that touch your spirit in the best of manner. And forgive me again for my nervousness. Get better. Y'all know I'm behind the scenes. I'm behind the scenes. He's the one. So I'm gonna go ahead and let my husband close the show on out. And again, before I go, let me please greet you all with the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum, and have a blessed night.
All praises due to Allah. Thank you for hearing my beautiful wife, Sister Shauna Joy X. And I'm just going to close it out with this last thought. We went a little bit longer than I expected, but that's what happens when you're dealing with the truth. Because falsehood, takes its time. Might as well do the same thing with truth. But to my sisters who are still pretty, steeped in that mentality that you have to have a certain grade of hair on your head. And you buying those bundles. I ain't talking about final call bundles, but you buying that, 30-inch, 36-inch Brazilian, whatever the hell it is, Republican, Democratic, whatever that is that y'all buy. Here's my thing. It's so prevalent in our community and it's such a high demand for it. I want to see more sisters get into that business. I want to see more sisters get into that industry. I mean, if an Asian can get into an industry dealing with hair that's nothing like their own, then of course a sister who deals with that type of hair every day should be foremost in it. And you might think, well, they got the hookup because they got that hookup from Asia, whatever. Listen, I read an article about a sister who went overseas herself. She did the same thing Frank Lucas did for heroin. He went over in Southeast Asia himself looking for dope and brought it back himself, sometimes using the caskets of murdered Vietnam veterans. But this particular sister, she went into South America, she went into India, and she basically got her hands on the same hair that our Asian family is getting their hands on in their so-called beauty supply shop. So I strongly suggest the sisters get into that industry. If you're not going to get out of it, if you're not going to graduate from that mentality that you're not beautiful unless your hair looks like something other than yourself, at least get yourself into that industry and really take control of it. So if I walk into a beauty supply store and if I see a sister walking down the street with somebody else's hair hanging all the way down to her Air Force Ones or her Jordans, I at least know that there's a sister somewhere doing this, counting her paper based on that. And that would make me feel a little bit better about the situation, and it would do so much for our community. But just understand that you have skin that absorbs the sun. You have hair that defies gravity. We've been flocking to the movie theaters to see these stories about superheroes, but when you look at that on paper, that sounds like a superhero. Somebody with hair that defies gravity and skin that absorbs the sun, and the darker your skin is, the more capable it is of absorbing the sun. In fact, if you look up the word sun-kissed, sun-kissed, it means to be made warm or brown by the warmth of the sun. Now, the sun gives that other person, that other people, it gives them cancer. It kills them. The same sun that kills your enemy kisses you, literally. The sun loves you. It loves your hair. And your hair defies gravity. Gravity can't even mess with your hair. So with that said, don't let some, here today, gone tomorrow R&B singer, that's 30 years old and still sing like he 12, just my personal opinion, no offense. But don't let, just somebody and like my wife alluded to, we got to stop putting so much stock and what athletes and entertainers said. Brother Malcolm said the same thing. We're the only people in the world who are leaders are entertainers and athletes. So we got to stop putting so much stock in what they say. But when they say something that's ignorant, we absolutely should, jump on them. We should absolutely, wash them up, just like Black Twitter did to our brother. And lastly, I want to encourage all those that are in the entertainment industry, stand up for your people, man. You don't have to punk your people, because it doesn't make you more desirable really amongst white people. It doesn't make you more desirable, because as soon as we stop messing with you, as soon as we start effing with you, then the little white girl's gonna stop effing with you too. Ask Hammer, ask Vanilla Ice, ask every rapper or R&B star that fell off. They fell off when we stopped messing with them. Because the only reason the little white girls are chasing you through the mall, brother, is because it was sisters chasing you first. So when we stop messing with you, it's a wrap for your career. So to all the aspiring artists who want to be rappers, want to be this and that, just understand what your foundation is. And, don't bite the hand that feeds you. But with that said, I want to thank you all for tuning in. Pardon us for the technical difficulties we had. But I do want to sincerely thank you. And once again, may Allah be pleased to our dear brother Munir Muhammad, who laid the foundation for what we do here at Nation Town TV and what every other believer of any ideology is doing on social media, with any type of visual media. I thank Allah for this brother, and I pray that we keep his vision going. And his vision was real simple. Keep the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad on the forefront of every Aboriginal man and woman's mind, and keep it in the face of our enemy. And as long as we do that, we'll be just fine. So once again, may Allah be pleased with our brother, and deepest condolences to his family and friends, those who knew him personally, particularly our beloved leader, teacher, and guide, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. My condolences to him, because I know him and Brother Munir have been through it over the years. They done fell out, fell in, and and they've been two peas in a pod up until his demise. So I want to give my condolences again to his friends and family. And with that said, dear family, I want to leave you as I greeted you in the words of peace. Thank you for tuning in. Inshallah, we will broadcast again Friday evening. We may run up on you and surprise you sooner. But inshallah, we'll touch bases with you again Friday evening. I also want to encourage you to go ahead and download the free 99. In fact, we're going to discount you to 99. It's just free. Mosque number 27 app. Just download it. Go to your Google Play or iTunes or App Store, and just put in Mosque number 27 or Mosque 27 in the actual search feature, and you'll see it pop up as soon as you put the word mosque in. Go ahead, download it. It's 100% free. It's got everything. You might be able to get some bundles of weave on there. I don't know. It's so much stuff on there. You can find anything. We got a list of black-owned businesses out here in the Los Angeles area and beyond. It's a beautiful resource for all Aboriginal people. And again, with that said, leave you as I greeted you in the words of peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
I was told to deliver this message.